Meet Cameron. Cameron has decided to move from a traditional bricks and mortar class to a class set in the virtual world. Cameron doesn't realize it yet, but there is something different about his new environment, something missing, something so subtle that he probably didn't even realize that it had gone. Repetition and reflection. Repetition and reflection. See what was done there? In Cameron's old classes, he was constantly repeating information and skills, even if he wasn't aware of it. Through homework and class activities, his teacher would make sure Cameron would go over and over a new nugget of awesomeness a dozen times before he was ever really graded on it. Repetition. The structure of his school day and his class was also different. Cameron would get up in the morning and go to school. He'd attend his class for 45 minutes. When the bell rang, the class was over for the day. Whether he realized it or not, that 24-hour forced break between working on class assignments actually forced Cameron to reflect on what he had learned, even subconsciously. Reflection, along with repetition, were things that were mostly out of Cameron's hands in his old environment. Now Cameron is in a virtual class. He reads through lessons, takes the assessment, and moves on to the next lesson. But what he doesn't realize is that just because he can move quickly doesn't mean he should. Cameron needs to take charge of his own repetition reflection now that a teacher isn't hovering over his shoulder, forcing him to practice and take his time. Luckily for Cameron, Cornell Notes will provide exactly what he needs: repetition and reflection. Basically, CNotes take your notes and wrap some elements around them that provide repetition and reflection. Picture your normal notes, but inside a box with fancy wrapping paper. Later in this video series, we'll take a detailed look, along with Cameron, at the pieces we wrap around your notes in order to make it a C-note. For now, we can just describe them quickly. The lid of the box, the top portion of your C-note, contains some basic information, like your name, the class subject, the lesson name, and the date. But more importantly, it includes the essential question that the lesson was intended to answer. One wall of your C-notes, the right-hand column, is made up of your notes, or quick notes, taken just as you have always done. What Cameron takes for quick notes probably won't look like what his best buddy Sarah takes for quick notes. You're going to wind up painting and hanging pictures on that wall of your C-notes when you come back and revise those quick notes, adding clarification, adding questions, and making connections. The left-hand column, the other wall of your C-notes, is the higher order thinking skills, or HOTS column. While some of Cameron's teachers will ask him to do different things with this wall, this video series will focus on using the HOTS column to construct high difficulty questions, just like Cameron would see on a particularly hard test. Finally, the foundation of the column is a summary of what has been learned. At first, Cameron doesn't want to do these C-notes. He sees them as non-graded work that eats into his free time. What he'll learn is that each C-note is a deposit into the bank of free time. It earns interest, and because he deposited that time with his C-notes, he'll gain back that time plus some when he realizes he will need less tutorials and less makeup work. But maybe Cameron would rather spend the time watching comic book movies. We would tell Cameron that completing C-notes is a lot like preparing to be a superhero. Cameron's favorite masked adventure, Sergeant Studies, trained and prepared to be a costume hero. When he confronts a supervillain, he's prepared. He not only wanted to be a hero, he trained to be a hero. Imagine if Sergeant Studies had just wanted to be a hero, but wasn't willing to prepare. Imagine how short the encounter would be between an untrained, masked mystery man and a supervillain. As we move through this video series, you and Cameron will learn how to be an academic Avenger, just like Sergeant Studies. You'll learn how to build each piece of a C-note and how to take charge of your own repetition and reflection. Most of all, you'll learn how to be prepared for any academic challenge.